What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a video for you guys on how to do a lot of damage in tank destroyers and as a result win more games in them. Tank destroyers generally create map control as sort of a special class like light tanks, but they do it in a much different way than light tanks do. And the first step that is more different than a light tank is you have to let the game develop around you most of the time. This tutorial is going to apply to mobile tank destroyers. I'm going to be using the 268 because this, in my opinion, is the most well-rounded tank destroyer in the game right now, but it can be applied to other ones such as the Foch 155-55 and the Ho Re. While you let the game develop, you're going to want to focus on whether or not you want to go to the medium side or the heavy side. And you want to pay attention to how much HP is going to be on either side and how much you can affect the game depending on which side you go to. I usually favor the heavy side because heavies have more HP and your large alpha shots will affect the brawl more and clean up the heavy side quicker than you can clean up the medium side because mediums will be able to run from you, etc. So I usually choose the heavy side, although that is not always the best choice to make, just depending on how the game is going to go. Once you let the game develop, you figure out what side you're going to be on. You're going to want to use camo and bushes to your advantage, because without camo and bushes, you getting spotted completely destroys your threat, because once people see this big alpha gun pointed at them, they don't want to peek that angle again. So if you blow your cover because you're not using camo or bushes properly, you're probably going to do less damage. Now, there is a time when you need to be aggressive in every game in every class of tank, but at the beginning, when you're still farming damage and the whole team doesn't know you're there, you don't want them to know that you're there. This method of letting the enemy team guess and find out where you are by getting shot rather than you just getting spotted helps you avoid trades. Your alpha is very high, as you can see here. I'm going to HE the side of this T30. You can do a lot of damage per shot, but if you take too long to aim at or peek out and get shot by two guys in return, your trade is negative. If you get shot by two heavy tank guns, it doesn't matter that you do 690 in that shot. It's nullified, and you start out with less HP, so it's going to bring the DPM difference closer together, because if you take 800 damage and you're only on 1000 HP and then you shoot somebody for 690 and they're in a heavy tank, it's going to matter a lot less to them than it does to you. So you can die very quickly if you make bad trades in a tank destroyer. It's important to know the difference between camping and supporting your team. And this usually happens in the middle of the game when the enemy team is pushing or your team is pushing. You need to know when it's time to move up, when it's time to take a flank, because you need to be actively supporting. If you're not actively supporting and you're just sitting in the back, eventually you're going to get shots on people, but it's most likely going to be because your whole team has died, you're the last guy, and they're trying to find you. Once you do damage after the game is pretty much over and your whole team is dead, that damage is irrelevant. You need to be doing damage in the middle of the game when the brawls are happening so you can actually affect the outcome of the game. At the same time, you can't be overly aggressive because, as I said before, the 268, for example, only has 1800 HP, and it has good armor, but not good enough armor to just be taking hits. So you need to not be aggressive, but not be too passive. And that's where the camo rating of tank destroyers comes into play, because this camo rating with the camo net on the 268 is higher than the camo rating of the T100 LT. You can be very sneaky if you know how to play these, and if you stay unspotted and keep your opponent guessing as to where you're going to pop up, your HP difference will be nullified within 2 shots because you do so much damage. So it doesn't take much, and you have a huge effect on the game. You just can't be trading while you're taking those shots because you're going to be pretty much dead, and then they can just push you and take the flank. In the heavy brawls in the game, you also don't need to be super aggressive because you have so much penetration. Here you can see this E75, I can pen most of his turret. If he wasn't hold down, or if he was hold down here, I could still pen him. I don't need to be aggressive, I don't need to do anything special. I can just wait for him to make a mistake and take a shot into him and majorly affect his HP. So that's something to keep in mind too. Be patient, but if it's time to push, you need to know when it's time to push. So now that we've got some of the ground rules down, I'm going to start describing what I did in this game. In this game, I went to the middle area and I spotted their heavy tank hill, because the heavy tank hill has shots onto the medium tank hill that my team is occupying. And if I can spot tanks such as that E75 and this Granvan, the mediums on my team can shoot across to them, and it prevents my mediums from taking damage as well. So I'm doing the same thing that I would do in a light tank, just in a more passive way, so that I don't get spotted and I get a massive hit into them. Now that the 2 tanks that we have on this flank are pushing up, their tier 10 heavy is gone, their tier 9 heavy is very low HP. their E4 is kind of irrelevant to the game. He's just out of the fight right now. I'm going to start moving up through middle, because as I move up through middle, I'm going to get more and more shots on the important side of the brawl, the A side fight, which is where that Castilla hill is. Now, while this E75 is still here, I can't take middle because he can shoot me through the cracks in the buildings, and I don't want to have to pay too much attention to that. So I end up landing a blind shot here with the heat right through the top of his turret. This is all about making things easier for yourself. Yes, I could move up now and get shots at him through the cracks in the buildings here, but it's so much easier for me to just kill him and wait. And since the enemy team isn't aggressing too much on the medium side right now, I've got time. It actually times out perfectly because you can see now our medium tank is kind of YOLOing in and trying to kill this Foch here just in time that I kill this E75. Now there's no crossfire for me, and I'm setting them into a massive crossfire. So I take out this Foch, and I'm just going to keep moving up. As I said before, this E4 is having no effect on the main part of the brawl here. If we win this Castilla side, we win the game. If the numbers advantage was closer and the enemy team still had a chance, obviously we win this game either way. But if you're trying to focus on different situations where the numbers might be a little bit closer, this is the play to make because most of the enemy team is here and most of your friendly team is here. You need to win this to continue to win the game. So we get some really nice shots into these guys, and we're just helping clean this up as quickly as possible. And that's the way to win games in a tank destroyer. You don't want to be directly in front of them. You want to be moving while you're reloading, kind of like on a light tank. That's how I used to play the Bat Chat back when the Bat Chat was really good. You need to be moving when you're reloading, finding good shots, and not sitting spotted out in the open for too long. Because if you're spotted, they're going to avoid getting shot by you because you're the gun that they're going to notice the most. You have the highest damage per shot, and you have to be careful about that because people will target you just like they will target a light tank. So we managed to scrape out 6,000 damage out of that game, 4 kills, and a mastery. So the next game, we're going to be on Hellas, and I'm going to do a similar strategy because there are 4 heavy tanks of the enemy team. I'm going to go heavy side, and I'm going to be passive, but I'm going to be able to spot the enemy heavy tanks before they spot me because my stationary camo is so good, and I'm going to use bushes to my advantage. Throughout this game, I want you guys to pay attention to my movement. It's important to know how to drive backwards and side scrape with a tank destroyer because if you're constantly turning around a corner traditionally, you're driving forward and you're turning left if the corner's on your left side, you're going to get tracked and not be able to get shots off sometimes because people will aim for your tracks so you can't get your gun on target. If you side scrape out behind cover and then turn the other way to point your gun at them, first off, your armor is going to be slightly better. Not so much in a tank with a 268 because of the way the hull is shaped, but you're also less likely to get tracked doing this, and then you're guaranteed to get the shot on, which is really important. So just keep that in mind and pay attention to how I move. Now, we had 2 early shots here, and we ended up missing both of them, unfortunately, and I do get spotted for that second one. When firing, your camo is nowhere near as good on any tank, so it's pretty obvious I was going to get spotted there. I wait for the reload because once I'm reloaded, I know that I'm not spotted anymore, and I'm just going to move up here and see if I have any cross shots on these tanks. Now, if you look at my team, they're all mostly in spawn, but they're to the left side of that hill that faces the medium side, which means that they're most likely to push heavy side. And as soon as they all go in on this yo, there's 3 tanks killing this yo. I don't need to help them. I'm just going to check and see if I have any shots across here. And when I see that I don't, I'm going to drive past this yo and try to not get spotted by him. So I'm not going to go within 45 meters of his tank. He's dead now, so it doesn't matter, but if he was still alive, that's why I'm outside here. I'm trying to use as much distance between me and the other tanks and not get proxied by him. And I'm going to try to get to the opposite platform that I was at. I'm not taking the shot there because I know that once I get here, I'm going to be double bushed and I won't get spotted for firing. The enemy team has seen me once at the back of the map. They don't know that I'm here. So if I aim these shots carefully and use these bushes to my advantage, making sure nobody sneaks up to me on my right, they're not going to know exactly where they're going to get hit from. They can blind shoot this bush, but they don't know whether or not I'm in it. I'm driving up forward through the bush here because once it's transparent, that means that I can spot the tanks through it. Going to get a really nice shot into this Kronvon here. And I'm just going to keep paying attention to the right because that's the only real place that I can get spotted from. As I drive up into this bush, you see as soon as it becomes transparent, I can spot this E75. As soon as it becomes non-transparent, I take the shot and I'm using the bush's full camo. So that's really important to know and how to use bushes no matter what type of tank you're using, but especially in tank destroyers and light tanks. Now I'm going to move up on them because this Kronvon and this E75 aren't going to keep peeking where they're taking massive hits from. So Now is the time to move in, especially with this Rhino moving in with me and the enemy tanks coming up from behind. We can't stay there because if we get spotted, we're completely useless. So I get a shot into the T-57. He's reloading, so I could have stayed there, but he was kind of posturing like he was reloaded. He reloads pretty soon. I unfortunately bounce a kill shot on him. I don't really care, so I don't really aim it, but that would have put me over 6,000 damage at the end of this game, so I wish that I actually aimed that one better. Now I'm taking a more central position because I have HP here. I need to start getting my HP in the game because my team is low and I start losing map control by losing teammates. It's going to be much harder for me to win this, so I need to start pushing forward. Unfortunately, we're about to lose our tier 9 heavy tank over here. The Yag Tiger does keep driving though, so I take him out pretty easily, right through the pillar right there. And now this Rhino is dying to the Kronvon and the E50M. What I need to do is I need to support this guy while his HP still exists. I need to get value out of him because they're going to shoot him to kill him, so I can peek pretty much for free here and get a shot into the Kronvon, no worries, because he's going to aim for this Rhino. So that's why I rush over here, even though this is a losing fight. Now that I'm going to be the one that's taking damage, and it's clear that I'm going to end up in a 1v3 situation, I leave. I don't want to take any unnecessary hits that I might not pen or for some reason might land me on lower HP for the end of this game. I don't really care what this IS-8 does at this point because he's kind of lost. He's on no HP. He's driving forwards. If he kills them, he kills them. If he dies, he dies. I need to get myself in a better position so that I can win the game. There's nothing that I can do to help this guy at this moment. Unfortunately, he doesn't even spot the E50, so I don't know where they're at. If he had spotted them at least before he died, it would have been a little bit more useful. But I've been going around because I suspected that this 183 was going to come straight from the cap to where I killed him because he stopped capping. As soon as he stopped capping, I knew he was driving out towards me because they're in a 3v1. Should be an easy kill, right? So I flank around so that when he's approaching where I was, I would have his side. I knew that he was on a one-shot, so I got the easy kill there. Unfortunately here, I spot the E50M before I am through the bush, so I get spotted. And I thought that maybe I could get a shot and kill the Kronvon there, but I don't end up being able to do that. Now this E50M has two options. He can just approach me, or he can go under here. And he chooses the worst one. He goes under. He can't run when he's under. This is the part where I'm talking about driving backwards. He can't run when he's under. And I only need to land an HE shell near him to kill him, so this is pretty easy. Free kill right there. Now the Kronvon is either backing away and making it harder to find, or he is driving forwards, and he's driving forwards. This reverse side scrape peeking, not regular side scrape peeking, makes it easier for me to move out of the way once I spot them, so that's another reason that I do it. I'm going to do something new here. I'm going to cut the strat sketch and let you guys see my breakdown of the game. I'm going to explain what decisions I made and why I made them. So here that is. I hope this helps you guys.
Alright guys, so I'm setting up a strat sketch just to explain the last game. So at the beginning, I went to this position here and I spotted the Yo right here at the beginning of the ramp, and then a couple of heavy tanks on their ramp. This red section represents the amount of the map that they control and the amount of the map that if you drove into in say a T100, you could not expect support from our team, and if they pushed you, they could easily kill you. That's pretty much how I define map control. There's a lot of other things to it, but that's just an easy way to explain it. When this Yo pushes up here, it becomes evident very early that he's the only one on this side of the map, and potentially there's something here, but I'm willing to take that 1v1 once multiple heavy tanks, 4 heavy tanks or 3 heavy tanks and a medium or something push this Yo. Once this Yo is killed, that takes out their whole map control of this area right here, so this section would be cut off. I can't delete this without deleting the whole shape, but the whole section here would get cut off, and once I get to here, that cuts off all of this section right here. The reason it does that is because I can shoot, the only place I can't shoot is right up here, but if we have the ramps, we can shoot that. So once our heavies move up to the ramps, this section is covered by them, and then this whole area is covered by me, with the heavy spotting and me spotting by driving in and out through the bush. So once these positions are taken, our heavies kill this guy, and I move up here, I'm going to redraw what the map control looks like. Alright, so now that we're here, we have our friendly tanks here. This one turned red by accident, but our heavies that pushed down had this control of this whole area here. I'm here, so controlling this whole area. We're going to start to bleed these guys because now that they're pushing into our spawn, if I turn back and I stop supporting these people, we lose this whole area of map control, which allows their heavies to push up here and start pressuring this area. And once they push that, we lose this area, etc. So we need to hold this area so that their enemy heavies don't push in. And once we kill those enemy heavies, they lose this whole area right here, because once we get this ridge line, nothing in here is safe. So while they take our spawn, we can't turn back to support because we don't want to lose their spawn too. Our option is to kill their spawn. So once I land enough shots to feel comfortable killing these guys, as soon as I can, because of the threat of losing the map control of our spawn and then me getting spotted from the side here, I move forward and start to kill these guys. Once I kill these guys, I'll redraw and show you what kind of map control the enemy team has after that. So now that we have taken the ridge line up here, this is what it looks like. Our Rhino moved up to this position and was fighting a Kron Von while getting flanked by the E50. Now I can only support him from here. I can't support him from this angle until I moved up, which you saw in the replay. This situation here is exactly what we did initially to the Yo. Once this Rhino dies, this whole area becomes theirs. They control it, and we're losing more and more options of where we can fall back to. So when I move up here to shoot the 183 that's in mid, what I'm doing is I'm using the extent of our map control in a losing situation, because if we start at the back, we give up the whole area of the map, and when it comes down to the 1v3, we'll have nowhere to fall back to, and we'll have to fight them all at once. So what I end up having to do is I have to move up and use the first iteration of map control, the most that we have. If we lose some, then I have to fall back to the next position that has the most map control, etc. So that's why we don't want to fall back immediately. And we focus this Yag Tiger not only because he's a one-shot, but because once these guys gain this part of the map, if this Yag Tiger is allowed to move up, we'll be in a complete crossfire. We will have lost this whole area, and we will have lost this whole area, which means we have, again, nowhere to go. So once this tank dies, I need to kill this Yag Tiger, and I would have still gone to help this tank because, like I said, I need to get value off of his HP, and this guy's a one-shot, so I can easily surprise him and kill him, but we need to kill him early if we can so that we don't lose this and have to come back later, because we don't want to get spotted moving up to our holding position. So this is generally what it looked like when the 1v3 started. I ditched the red and map control highlighted areas because I'm just going to explain it, and I think you guys get the idea at this point. So the last general area I was spotted was around here. The 183 was spotted here, and he drove out of the cap. So I can assume he's either going to come around this way or he's going to come around this way. He's in a slow tank, so he's probably going to go this way to try to cut me off. So I go around this way and I kill him, which allows me to continue moving out to this whole area of the map without getting spotted. Because if I let him live and just try to drive past and then fight him from here, there's nothing that I'm going to be able to do without getting spotted by him. This E50M was my next biggest threat because he can probably get to here by the time I kill this guy and get to my bush that I'm planning on going back to, which does actually end up happening, but only by a split second. So maybe I could have had better pathing so that didn't happen. Still, that's my second biggest threat, but he's also on low HP. The only reason he is a threat is because of his mobility and view range. He's very easy to kill. HP wise, this is our biggest threat, but the amount of HP that we have at the end of the game allows us to just take him out. So by the time we get back to this bush here, we have killed this 183. Their E50M moves up to the top of the hill, and their Kron Von moves to here. That puts us in the exact same position that we were in at the beginning of the game when the Kron Von and the E75 were on the top of the hill. We're able to get shots across to the hill here and to this area. And remember, at the beginning of the game, I said that from this position, my map control includes all of this. It still does. So as soon as these guys enter this area, just with a single tank here, just because of the nature of the position, they're up to me. I can peek them and choose when to engage them, and the HP that they're at allows me to win the game because of that. That's why I chose to fall back to this position. So I hope that explanation kind of helps the breakdown of what decisions I made and why I made them during this game. So yeah.
I hope these tips helped you guys a little bit with your tank destroyers. Just remember, always be creating crossfires, using bush cover properly, and know when to camp and when not to camp. If you're camping and nothing's happening and it's not the very beginning of the game, chances are you're doing something wrong. I'm probably going to make a follow-up video to this about other types of tank destroyers, because there's heavy tank destroyers like the Jagdpanzer E100 and the 183. Those have a different play style to them. You have to be more aggressive sometimes, and I'm not going to get too much into it, but this is the most multi-purpose tank destroyer in the game, the most effective type of tank destroyer. There, like I said, are other options in this sort of subclass of tank destroyers, but if you want to learn and you want to have the best chance at doing well, I think the 268 is probably the best option. This thing's really, really good right now. So Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. If there's anything I missed or anything else you want to hear, just let me know in the comments. I respond to all of them. So, yeah, have a great day, guys.